The prison ship Varkan 7 floated silently through deep space. It was huge, cold, and dark, designed to hold the worst criminals from across the galaxy. It had layers of steel walls, security systems, and a crew of mercenaries trained to kill without question. No one escaped from Varkan 7. But even inside this place, where fear was normal, there was one prisoner that scared even the guards. A prisoner in cell 73. Zarn was new. He had joined the crew only 3 days ago. He was young, strong, and proud to wear the black armor of the mercenaries. His skin was gray-blue, and his eyes glowed orange like the others of his species. But he was still learning the rules. And there was one rule that confused him more than anything. Don't go near cell 73, his squad leader had told him on the first day. Just leave it alone. Do your job. That's all you need to know. At first, Zarn thought they were joking. Maybe it was a way to scare new recruits. But as the days passed, he noticed something strange. None of the guards patrolled that side of the hall. The cameras near cell 73 were off. The cleaning bot skipped it, and when Zarn asked another mercenary about it, the reply was always the same. It's human, they said. Then they walked away without another word. Zarn didn't understand. He had seen humans before. Weak, emotional creatures. Their homeworld, Earth, had fallen more than 100 years ago. Most humans were either extinct or hiding on dead colonies. What could one human do to scare trained killers? His curiosity grew. That night, after his shift, Zarn opened the prison logs on his datapad. He searched for cell 73. The screen blinked red. Access denied. Classified. That was unusual. Even high-level criminals had files. Why was this one locked? He tried again using a backdoor code he learned during training. This time, the screen loaded, but only one sentence appeared. Prisoner transferred from Black Site 9. No records. No name. Species. Human. Danger level. Unknown. Zarn stared at the screen. Unknown. That didn't make sense. Every prisoner had a danger level. This was the only one marked that way. He leaned back, thinking, what kind of human gets moved from a black site and scares mercenaries? The next day, Zarn walked past cell 73 during his patrol. The hallway was empty, quiet, cold. The cell was at the far end, its door sealed tight with thick steel and energy locks. A red warning light flashed slowly above it. He stood still and listened. Nothing. Then, just as he turned to leave, a voice came from inside the cell. Calm, deep, human. You're not like the others. Zarn froze. The voice wasn't angry. It wasn't scared. It was calm. Like the prisoner already knew who he was. Zarn stepped closer. Who are you? Silence. He placed a hand on the wall. It was cold. Thick. I said, who are you? The voice replied again. Someone who has been waiting. Zarn felt a chill run through his spine. He backed away, heart pounding, and quickly walked down the hall. That night, he couldn't sleep. The voice echoed in his head. Why did it sound like that? Not defeated, not mad, but like he was. In control. The next morning, Zarn asked his squad leader again. What happened during the capture mission? Who was sent to bring in the human? The squad leader, a tall, battle-scarred warrior named Jorak, stared at him for a moment. His jaw clenched. Then he spoke quietly. 17 of our best men were sent. Only 8 came back. All wounded, all silent. Not one of them would speak about what happened. The only message we received from the field team was, target contained. Losses acceptable. That's it. Zarn frowned. How did they capture him? Jorak looked away. He let them. He was already waiting. That made no sense. If the human wanted to be captured, why would he be locked up in the most dangerous cell in the ship? And why wouldn't anyone talk about it? Later that day, Zarn went back to the hallway. Again, no one was there. Again, the red light flashed above the cell. He stood in front of the door, staring. "I know you're listening," Zarn said. "Nothing. You spoke to me yesterday. Why?" Still nothing. He turned to leave, but before he could take a step, the voice came again. "What year is it?" Zarn paused. "What?" "I asked," the human said. "What year is it now?" Zarn slowly answered. "Year 379 of the Galactic Empire. Earth fell in year 261. There was a pause. A long one. "So it's been that long," the human finally said, almost to himself. Zarn narrowed his eyes. "What does that mean?" But the human didn't reply, only silence again. Zarn left, more confused than ever. The prisoner didn't sound dangerous. He didn't sound insane. He sounded awake, aware, like he was studying them just as they were watching him. That night, Zarn had a dream. He was standing in the hallway again. The cell door was open. Smoke filled the hall. Alarms were blaring. And the human stepped out of the darkness. Not a monster. Not a soldier. Just a man. But Zarn couldn't move. He couldn't breathe. There was something in the man's eyes. Something ancient. Something wrong. He woke up sweating. The next day, he asked the ship AI to scan the hallway near Cell 73 for any unusual activity. The AI answered, "Sensors are offline in that section due to interference." "Interference from what?" Zarn asked. "Unknown." He pulled up the security footage, but all the feeds near Cell 73 showed only static. That was the moment Zarn realized something. The cameras weren't broken. They were being blocked. From inside the cell, he rushed down to the hallway, heart racing. He needed to see it for himself. As he reached Cell 73, he saw something that stopped him cold. Blood. A smear of it. Dark, red-black, dripping from the wall next to the sealed door, but not on the inside. It was on the outside of the cell. Zarn backed away, eyes wide. How could that be possible? The cell had no opening, no way for anything to come out, and the hallway had been empty. His communicator buzzed. "Zarn, report to control deck. Now." Still shaken, he obeyed. When he arrived, the officers were watching a broken transmission on the main screen. It was from another ship, a transport that had gone silent days ago. The image was cracked and full of static, but one word came through clearly again and again. "Human. Human. Human." The transmission cut out. Zarn turned to his squad leader. "What's happening?" Jorak didn't answer. He was staring at the screen, his face pale. Zarn remembered the voice from the cell. The calm tone. The question about the year. And the blood. Outside the door. The mercenaries were afraid. And now, so was he. The control room of Varkan 7 was quiet. Too quiet. Everyone had seen the strange, broken transmission from the lost ship. One word had repeated over and over. Human. Zarn stood near the back of the room. He could feel the tension in the air. Even the senior officers looked confused. Scared. That never happened. His squad leader, Jorak, gave orders quickly. "Lock down Cell 73. Double the energy field. Nobody goes near it unless I say so." Zarn wanted to ask more questions, but something told him to stay quiet. He could feel it. Things were changing. Something was coming. That night, Zarn couldn't sleep again. His thoughts kept returning to the voice in the cell. Calm. Cold. And the words that made no sense. How many wars since Earth fell? So it's been that long. Why would someone ask that? And why did he say he'd been waiting? Zarn decided to dig deeper. He sneaked into the ship's archive room and used an old terminal that wasn't connected to the main system. The logs were ancient, dusty. Files not touched in decades. He searched for Black Site 9. That's where the human came from. A few results came up. mostly redacted. But one short report caught his attention. Project Echo, human subject number 13, voluntarily surrendered at Black Site 9. Claimed he had seen the future of the galaxy. Subject showed no aggression but triggered psychological collapse in 3 researchers. Transferred under Level X security protocol. No explanation given. Status: classified. Zarn leaned back in shock. Voluntarily surrendered. No aggression, but people went mad just talking to him. What kind of human was this? Back in the hallway near cell 73, the red warning light flashed as usual. Zarn stood in front of the door again. This time, he spoke with purpose. I know about Black Site 9. Silence. He stepped closer. I know you let them take you. Why? The voice replied. Because they weren't ready before. But they are now. Zarn's hands turned cold. Who's ready? There was a long pause. Then the human said something strange. Have you ever seen a star die, Zarn? Zarn blinked. What does that mean? The voice ignored his question. The galaxy thinks it understands power, but they've forgotten what fear really is. That's why they keep me here. They don't fear weapons, they fear ideas. And I am a very old idea. Zarn stepped back. He felt like the air around him was heavier, like the lights had dimmed slightly, even though nothing had changed. Why are you talking to me? Zarn asked. You're the only one who listens, the human replied. The others look at me and see a cage. You see the cracks in the wall. Zarn turned to leave. But the voice said one last thing. Tell your captain to check the stars near Dorian 3. The silence has started there. Zarn stopped walking. Dorian 3 was a small colony planet. Peaceful. Far away. There were no wars there. No danger. Why would he mention it? Later, in the ship's command room, Zarn told Jorek what the human had said. Jorek frowned. Dorian 3. That's just a mining colony. Still, they checked. A long-range scan was sent out. The system replied within seconds. No signal. No life. No response. What the? One of the officers muttered. They had a population of over 40,000. Gone. Just like that. No explosions. No messages. No signs of attack. Just silence. Jorek turned to Zarn. Did he say anything else? Zarn shook his head. No, just that the silence has started. In cell 73, alarms suddenly started to blink. Security systems near the cell were malfunctioning. Lights flickered. Power lines overloaded. Engineers rushed in, confused. It's just this section, one of them said. Everything else is stable. It's like something is draining the energy. Jorek stared at the screen. Then he looked at Zarn. You said he let himself get captured. Yes. Then what if he wanted to be here for a reason? That night, Zarn couldn't shake the feeling that the human wasn't just a prisoner. He was a message. Or maybe a warning. But for what? He opened the archive logs again. This time, he searched for subject number 13. One final document appeared, half deleted, only a few words visible. Human memory cannot contain all of him. He is not one man. He is a collection of events wrapped in skin. We don't know where he came from, but we know he's been here before. Many times, across time, across galaxies. Zarn's heart stopped for a moment. Across time. Was he really human? Zarn returned to the hallway one last time. He stood in front of the sealed cell. I saw the file, he said. They called you Subject 13. But that's not your real name, is it? Silence. Then a whisper, barely audible. They called me Subject 13 because I was the 13th planet to fall. Zarn's blood ran cold. Then he heard a soft clicking sound. He turned to look at the control panel. The lock on the cell door was blinking. It was unlocking. The blinking lock on cell 73 wasn't a mistake. Zarn stared at the control panel as it flashed green for the first time in years. Every part of his brain told him to run, to call for backup, but his legs wouldn't move. Then, a click. The energy shield around the door vanished with a soft hum. Silence. The massive steel door creaked and began to open. Slowly, from deep inside the cell, steam rolled out, thick and cold. The lights inside flickered. A long shadow moved in the mist. Zarn reached for his weapon. His hand was shaking. And then he saw him. The human. He didn't look like a monster. No blood. No weapons. Just a man. Tall, quiet, wearing a torn black uniform from another time. His eyes. They didn't glow, but they looked through you. Like he could see more than just your body. Like he could see your thoughts. "Hello, Zarn," the human said. Zarn's voice cracked. How do you know my name?" "I've met you before," the man replied. "Not this version of you, but a different one. Same eyes, same questions." Zarn stepped back. "What are you?" The man walked forward, calm, confident. "I'm what the galaxy made when it forgot its fear," he said. "They gave me a name once, but even that is gone now." Zarn felt like he was drowning, just standing there. Why now? Why leave the cell now? The human stopped just in front of the door. He didn't cross the threshold. Because now, the silence is spreading. Meanwhile, on the command deck, alarms began to scream. "Sir," a tech officer shouted, "we just lost contact with the Vega system. 3 colonies gone dark." "What do you mean gone dark?" Jorek barked. No signals, no distress calls. They were there one moment, then nothing. The officer's screen lit up again. 2 more systems lost connection. All far apart, all in different directions. It made no sense. Unless it wasn't an attack. Unless it was something else. Jorek narrowed his eyes. "Check the cell. Now." The security feed came up. Cell 73 was open. Guards rushed to the hallway, weapons ready, shields up. But when they arrived, they found Zarn alone, standing just outside the cell. "Where is he?" one of the guards shouted. Zarn turned slowly. His face was pale, sweating. He didn't leave. What? He just stood at the door. He didn't move. He said, "He's not here to escape." The guards moved inside. The cell was empty. But there were no exits, no vents, no tunnels, just walls. One of the guards touched the wall. It was warm. Then he noticed something written there, burned into the metal. Just 2 words. "Not yet." Back in the command room, chaos was growing. More systems were falling silent. No explosions, no weapons detected, just empty space where entire planets used to be. The ship's AI suddenly froze. "Critical warning," it repeated. "Cognitive overload detected. Memory bleed occurring." "What the hell is going on?" Jorek yelled. The AI's voice changed. Slower, glitching. "He is here. He has always been here. You cannot cage a storm." The lights flickered. One screen cracked. Then everything went black. In the hallway, Zarn sat against the wall, staring at his hands. He could still hear the human's voice in his head. "The silence is not death. It is preparation." A soft noise echoed down the hall. Footsteps. But no one was there. Just the sound. And then, a whisper. Not from behind the cell door this time. From inside Zarn's mind. "Thank you for opening the door." Zarn's eyes widened. Zarn hadn't spoken in hours. He sat alone in the medbay, staring at the wall, silent. The ship's doctors scanned him, checked him, asked questions. He answered none. Jorek stood behind the glass, watching. "Is he broken?" he asked. The medic shook her head. No physical damage, no brain injury. But his brainwaves, they've changed. Changed how? She showed him the screen. He's thinking in patterns we can't recognize. His mind is doing something. We don't know what. Meanwhile, deep in the ship's archive system, strange things were happening. Old files, long deleted, were returning. Photos from centuries ago. Audio logs of missing crews. A voice repeating one phrase. He has always been here. One tech officer leaned forward. Is this a virus? Another replied. It's not in the system. It's coming from outside. Zarn finally spoke. His voice was low, different. He's not a man. Jorek turned sharply. What do you mean? Zarn looked up slowly, his eyes darker than before. He's not a prisoner. He's a memory. A living memory. A ghost of war that never ended. Jorek didn't understand. Explain. Zarn stood, slowly. He was there when Earth fell. He didn't fight, he watched. He remembers everything that came after. And before. Not just for humans. For everyone. Jorek narrowed his eyes. So what is he doing now? Zarn looked past him. Waking up the galaxy. Elsewhere, the silence was growing. Over 30 systems were now dark. Still no signs of attack. No debris. No survivors. A deep space probe finally sent back a live feed. The image showed something impossible. A planet-sized shadow floating between stars. Blacker than space itself. No heat. No energy. Just void. And then, just before the feed cut out, a voice came through. We buried him at the end of time. But time folds back. Back on Varkan 7, the ship's eye was nearly offline. Systems kept crashing. The last working monitor showed the prison's interior map. One by one, rooms began to turn red. Not from intruders. From people collapsing. Doctors, engineers, mercenaries, falling to the ground, eyes open, frozen in fear. The AI tried to explain. They saw something, and their minds could not hold it. Jorek finally gave the order. We're evacuating. Get shuttles ready. Abandon ship. But it was too late. The hangar bay doors refused to open. And then a new message appeared on every screen. There is nowhere to run. The storm was never outside. It was always inside. Zarn returned to the hallway outside cell 73. The door was still open. The cell still empty. Or so it seemed. He stepped inside. Suddenly, the world around him changed. The walls were gone. He stood in a field of stars, but none that he recognized. Everything was quiet. Still. Endless. And then he saw him again, the human. Standing alone in the center of this strange space. Zarn stepped forward. Where are we? The man replied. Not where. When? Zarn looked around. This is the future. The man nodded. One possible future. A future shaped by fear. The kind of fear that kills planets without firing a shot. Zarn frowned. Why show me this? The man turned to him. Because someone must remember what's coming. Suddenly, Zarn was back in the hallway. He gasped for air, falling to his knees. Jorek and the guards ran to him. What happened? Zarn looked up. He's not trying to destroy us. He's trying to warn us. Jorek grabbed his shoulder. Warn us of what? Zarn spoke slowly. Of something worse than him. And then, the lights died. Not flickered. Died. Total darkness swallowed the ship. A final message echoed in every mind, not through speakers, not through screens, but inside their heads. He was the first to survive the silence, but he will not be the last. The ship was dead. Varkan 7 floated in space like a broken relic, its lights gone, its systems frozen. The silence had swallowed everything. Zarn was the last one standing. He hadn't seen anyone else for hours. No sounds, no voices, just emptiness. But that emptiness felt alive. He walked through the abandoned hallways, his footsteps echoing in the darkness. The walls were cold, but not from the lack of power. It was a deeper chill, one that sank into his bones. The silence wasn't just the absence of noise. It was a presence, something waiting. Ahead, he saw the familiar door. Cell 73. His cell. The door was wide open, but something was different now. The air inside shimmered like heat waves on a desert. A faint, dark glow pulsed within. Zarn stepped inside. And this time, he wasn't alone. The human stood in the center of the room. His form was no longer fully human. His body was blurred, shifting between shapes, between timelines. He didn't look like a man anymore. He was something. Older. Timeless. Zarn swallowed. "What are you?" The human's voice echoed inside Zarn's head. "I told you before, I am not what you think. I am the first to survive the silence." Zarn shook his head, feeling his heart race. The silence. It's spreading across the galaxy. But why? What is it? What's coming? The human turned slowly, his eyes glowing now, brighter than before. The silence isn't a place. It's not a weapon. It's a memory. Zarn blinked. A memory. The human nodded. The galaxy, the universe, they're built on cycles. Life. Death. Rebirth. But there was something before the first stars were born. Something ancient. And I was made to remember it. Zarn's mind was racing. "You're what?" An echo. The human smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone who had seen the beginning and the end of everything. "I'm an echo of something older. A collective memory of the galaxy's forgotten past. The first beings to walk this universe. The ones who watched the first stars burn out. The first silence." Suddenly, everything changed. The walls around them disappeared, and Zarn was no longer in the prison cell. He stood in the middle of an endless void, where stars blinked out one by one, leaving only darkness. The human spoke again, but this time, his voice was everywhere. "The silence comes to reset everything, to erase everything that doesn't belong. But it isn't my choice. I was made to remember what others wanted forgotten." Zarn tried to speak, but no words came. His breath caught in his throat as he realized the true weight of what the human was saying. The galaxy itself had been built on lies. The silence. "It's not just the end. It's the beginning again," the human continued. "The galaxy's history is an illusion. There were other civilizations before this one. The first ones that built the stars. They tried to wipe out everything before them, but I survived. I remember." Zarn stumbled back. "Then, if you remember everything, what happens now?" The human's form flickered, merging with the darkness. "You'll remember too." The next moment, everything shifted. Zarn was no longer standing in a void. He was standing on a planet. But it wasn't Earth. It was a world untouched by time, surrounded by the ruins of forgotten civilizations. He could feel it. This place was older than anything in the galaxy. The air was heavy with history, but it wasn't just the world around him that felt ancient. He could feel himself changing. Zarn looked at his hands. They were older. His skin was marked with memories. His eyes had seen what they were never meant to see. He remembered galaxies that had never existed. He remembered the silence. Suddenly, the human appeared beside him. "You're not the first to forget, Zarn, and you won't be the last." Zarn's heart pounded. "What does that mean?" The human smiled again, his eyes glowing. "The cycle continues. The silence will come, and this galaxy will forget. And one day, when it's time to remember again, I'll be here, waiting." Zarn felt his knees give way. He collapsed on the ancient ground, overwhelmed by the weight of 1,000 lifetimes of memories. He heard the human's voice one last time, echoing in his mind. "The galaxy has always been here, and it will always be forgotten. Until the next time." The next moment, Zarn was back in the prison hallway. The lights flickered. The ship was still dead, but the silence was different. It wasn't gone. It was now a part of him. The last message came through the ship's remaining systems, not as a voice, not as a signal, but as an understanding. Something felt deep inside. The end is the beginning. The silence is not a choice. It is fate. And I am part of it. Always. Zarn looked at the empty hall ahead of him, the door to cell 73 wide open. And he understood. The silence wasn't the end. It was the echo. The beginning.